The Ethiopian Bible is one of the most intriguing and historically rich texts in the world. Shrouded in mystery and revered by scholars, theologians, and historians alike. Its origins, structure, and unique content distinguish it from the more widely known versions of the Bible. To understand the significance of the Ethiopian Bible, we must delve into its historical, cultural, and religious context, exploring why it has often been overlooked and how it sheds light on ancient Christianity and Ethiopian heritage. Ethiopia, a nation renowned for its ancient civilization, stands out in world history for its resilience and uniqueness. It is the only African country that successfully resisted colonization, preserving its cultural and religious traditions over millennia. Ethiopian heritage traces its lineage back to Ham, one of Noah's sons, a connection that is even acknowledged in Jewish traditions. This deep historical consciousness has made Ethiopia a significant player in the preservation of ancient texts and traditions. Ethiopia's connection to biblical history is profound, with references to the nation appearing in various scriptures. It is celebrated as a land of ancient wisdom and faith, long before the advent of modern Christianity. This rich spiritual tradition has contributed to Ethiopia's role as the custodian of some of the oldest biblical scrolls in existence, predating even the renowned King James Bible. The Ethiopian Bible, written in Ge'ez, an ancient Ethiopian liturgical language, contains 88 books, far more than the 66 books of the King James Bible. These additional texts include works not found in other Christian traditions, such as the Book of Enoch and the Book of Jubilees. These writings provide insights into early Christian thought and theology, offering perspectives that differ significantly from the canonical texts recognized by most denominations. Unlike many other nations that adopted Christianity later, Ethiopia had access to these scrolls long before Christianity was officially introduced in the 4th century. This indicates that Christianity in Ethiopia was not imposed or introduced through conquest, but rather existed as an integral part of its spiritual and cultural identity. Ethiopia became a Christian nation in the 4th century under King Ezana of Aksum, making it one of the earliest nations to adopt Christianity as a state religion. Historical accounts from figures like Cosmas Indicopleustes, a 6th century Egyptian monk and historian, testify to Ethiopia's Christian roots. He described Ethiopia as a haven for Christian refugees fleeing persecution in other parts of the world, highlighting its role as a sanctuary for early believers. What makes Ethiopia's Christian heritage even more remarkable is its longevity. Certain Ethiopian tribes have practiced forms of monotheism and worshipped the God of the Bible for over years. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church, locally known as Tewahedo, is considered one of the oldest organized Christian bodies in the world, predating even the Catholic Church. Ethiopia is home to one of the oldest illustrated Christian manuscripts ever discovered. In 2010, researchers uncovered a manuscript in a remote mountain monastery. Written in Ge'ez, this manuscript contains portions of the Gospels complete with vivid illustrations. Such discoveries underscore Ethiopia's role in preserving early Christian art and literature. Among the most captivating aspects of Ethiopian tradition is the Kebra Nagast, a sacred text that recounts the visit of the Queen of Sheba to King Solomon in the 10th century BCE. According to this text, the queen bore Solomon a son, Menelik, who would become the first emperor of Ethiopia. Genetic studies conducted lend credibility to this narrative, revealing intermingling between Ethiopians and people from regions like Egypt, Israel, and Syria around years ago. Despite its significance, the Ethiopian Bible has often been excluded from mainstream Christian discourse. Many believers remain unaware of its existence, and its contents are not included in the canonical Bible used by most denominations. This raises the question, why has such an important text been overlooked? To understand this, we must examine the history of biblical canonization. The Bible, as we know it today, underwent centuries of compilation, translation, and debate. Originally written in Hebrew, the texts were translated into Greek and Latin. St. Jerome's Latin Vulgate, completed around CE, became the standard version for Western Christianity. It included 66 books, 27 in the New Testament and 39 in the Old Testament. During the early centuries of Christianity, numerous writings about Jesus' life and teaching circulated, but not all were accurate or authentic. Many apocryphal texts, akin to fan fiction, spread false narratives, creating confusion among believers. To address this, church leaders convened councils to determine which books were divinely inspired and should be included in the Bible. The Ethiopian Bible, with its additional texts and unique interpretations, was largely excluded from this process. Several factors contributed to the marginalization of the Ethiopian Bible. First, geographical isolation played a role. Ethiopia's location in East Africa, coupled with its unique language and script, made its religious traditions less accessible to the broader Christian world. Second, doctrinal differences between the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and other Christian denominations led to the exclusion of Ethiopian texts from the canon recognized by the Catholic and Protestant churches. Moreover, the Ethiopian Bible challenges conventional narratives about Christianity's origins and spread. Its inclusion of texts like the Book of Enoch raises theological questions that many mainstream denominations have been hesitant to address. These texts offer alternative perspectives on key biblical themes such as the nature of angels, the end times, and the role of humanity in God's plan. Despite its marginalization, the Ethiopian Bible remains a treasure trove of spiritual wisdom and historical insight. It provides a glimpse into early Christian thought and offers a unique perspective on the biblical narrative. For Ethiopia, the Bible is not just a religious text, but a cornerstone of national identity, reflecting the country's deep connection to its faith and heritage. In recent years, there has been renewed interest in the Ethiopian Bible among scholars and theologians. Its preservation of ancient texts and traditions offers valuable lessons for understanding the diversity and richness of early Christianity. As more people become aware of its significance, the Ethiopian Bible may finally receive the recognition it deserves as a vital part of the Christian tradition. The Ethiopian Bible, an extraordinary text rich with history and spiritual significance, presents an alternative view of early Christianity and the development of biblical canons. To fully understand its uniqueness and the reasons for its exclusion from mainstream Christian traditions, it's essential to examine the historical context of how the Bible was compiled, as well as the theological and political factors that shaped its evolution. In the early centuries of Christianity, there was no universally accepted canon of Scripture. Various Christian communities used different texts, leading to theological diversity and at times confusion. To address this, early church leaders convened at major councils, such as the Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, and the First Council of Constantinople in 381 AD. These gatherings were pivotal in defining the text that would eventually constitute the New Testament. The criteria for inclusion in the New Testament were strict. A text had to meet the following conditions. 1. It must be attributed to an apostle or a direct follower of Jesus. 2. It had to align with the overarching theology and teachings found in other accepted scriptures. 3. It needed widespread acceptance and use in Christian worship across various regions. Despite these efforts, the process of canonization was neither quick nor universally agreed upon. Even after the councils, there were regional variations in the texts included in the Bible. Fast forward to the early 17th century, during the reign of King James I of England, a new phase of biblical standardization emerged. The King James Bible was commissioned in 1604 and completed in 1611. Its creation was driven by both religious and political motives. King James sought a unified Bible to settle disputes among various Christian denominations. There was concern over the accuracy of existing translations, which were seen as inconsistent or biased. To ensure a balanced translation, King James appointed 47 scholars who were divided into 6 committees. These scholars worked independently and followed stringent guidelines to maintain accuracy and avoid partiality. After years of meticulous effort, the King James Bible became a cornerstone of Christian worship in English-speaking countries. However, like the Latin Vulgate before it, the King James Bible excluded certain texts, including those found in the Ethiopian Bible. These omissions were largely due to concerns over the authenticity of certain writings, particularly the so-called pseudepigrapha, texts attributed to biblical figures but deemed historically or theologically dubious. The Ethiopian Bible stands apart from most other Christian canons for several reasons. 1. Inclusion of pseudepigrapha. The Ethiopian Bible contains texts such as the Book of Enoch, Jubilees, and the books of Maccabees, which were excluded from most other Christian traditions. These writings are often categorized as pseudepigrapha because they are attributed to historical figures like Enoch or Moses, but were written long after their lifetimes. Critics liken these works to fan fiction, creative elaborations on biblical stories, rather than divinely inspired texts. 2. Broader and narrower canons. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church recognizes two canons. The broader canon, containing 81 books, includes additional works like the Epistle of Clement and the books of Kidusan. The narrower canon, endorsed by Emperor Haile Selassie in the 20th century, contains 72 books and is considered the official version. Language barrier. The Ethiopian Bible is written in Ge'ez, an ancient liturgical language. This made it inaccessible to much of the Christian world, which relied on Greek, Latin, or later, vernacular translations. 4. Political and religious dynamics. In the early days of Christianity, the Roman Empire heavily influenced the development of the biblical canon. Texts that did not align with the Roman Church's theological and political priorities were excluded. Non-canonical scrolls were often destroyed, though some were hidden by dissenting priests, leading to later discoveries like the Dead Sea Scrolls in the 1940s. Despite these challenges, the Ethiopian Bible has survived for centuries, preserving a unique version of Christianity's sacred texts. Its resilience is remarkable, given the adversities it faced. Military and religious attacks. Ethiopia endured invasions from various forces, including Muslim armies and Italian colonizers, which threatened its religious heritage. Natural disasters. A devastating fire in the 1930s destroyed a church that housed precious manuscripts, adding to the Bible's mystique. In recent years, there has been a growing interest in the Ethiopian Bible among scholars and theologians. Efforts to translate its texts and analyze their theological implications have shed new light on its contents. For example, the inclusion of the Book of Enoch offers a fascinating glimpse into early Jewish and Christian apocalyptic thought, while texts like Jubilees provide detailed narratives that expand upon stories in the Pentateuch. The story of the Ethiopian Bible raises important questions about the nature of sacred texts and the process of canonization. What criteria should determine whether a text is divinely inspired? To what extent are these decisions influenced by cultural, political, and historical contexts? Consider the analogy of a modern book about Kobe Bryant. If someone today wrote a book falsely claiming that Bryant was not a great athlete, it would be dismissed as untrue. However, if such a book survived for centuries without critical scrutiny, future generations might mistakenly accept it as fact. Similarly, early Christian leaders excluded certain texts to preserve doctrinal purity and prevent misinformation, but their decisions were not infallible. The Ethiopian Bible's broader canon challenges the mainstream understanding of Scripture, suggesting that there may be more to the story of Christianity's early development than is commonly acknowledged. The Ethiopian Bible is more than a collection of religious texts. It is a testament to Ethiopia's enduring spiritual and cultural heritage. It reflects a version of Christianity untouched by Roman imperial influence, offering a unique perspective on the faith's early history. As interest in the Ethiopian Bible continues to grow, it serves as a reminder of the diversity within Christianity and the rich traditions that exist outside the Western canon. Whether one views it as a treasure trove of forgotten wisdom or an alternative interpretation of biblical truth, the Ethiopian Bible invites readers to explore its pages with curiosity and reverence. What do you think about the Ethiopian Bible? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and join us next time as we uncover more hidden chapters of history and faith.